So it was the first day of BlizzCon 2023, and the doors have not yet opened to the public. I was going to start setting up so I can co-stream during opening ceremonies on the convention floor, and I'm walking over to the streaming station place towards the front, and I'm stopped by someone, a very lovely lady. I think her name was Joanne. I couldn't hear her very well, so I'm very sorry if I got that wrong. But anyway, she's one of the designers for Professions during Dragonflight, and she was like, dude, like, your soul, and we look forward to watching your videos on Professions, and we love your input. And I was like, oh my god, that's like awesome. And I thought internally, oh my god, this is awesome. But I also thought, oh wait, that that kind of means that some of what went live in Dragonflight might have been influenced by me, even just a tiny bit. So, like, OMG, I'm so sorry. Hey, it's Soul, and I'm here to give some post Dragonflight pre-War Within feedback on Professions, what's working and what needs help. I'm gonna come off with a sort of, I guess a presentation style. It's going to be more dry than usual, going to be a little bit light on the bloviating, and this is not for beginners. I'm not going to be explaining the very basics of how this stuff works. This is feedback after so many months or so. And by the end, I'm going to have illustrated one person's as in my perspective, but y'all should also drop your own wall of text in the comments too, because unless I was being lied to, the WoW team actually watches some of my work, and that's kind of cool. So if you don't mind, like the video, subscribe for more coverage, and let's start by dropping some facts. In developer interviews, the WoW team has said that largely the profession system that we've had in Dragonflight is going to move to the War Within. So think of the fundamentals like specializations, ranks for recipes and materials, and work orders. Well, I guess think of it like this. Like if I'm a miner who's maxed out with Dragonflight skills, cool. Over in the Dragon Isles, I can mine while I'm mounted. I could use, I get more resources when I get stuff. I could use the overload skills and refine stuff, the works. But if I were to try to mine in, well, I guess old content, but if I were to try to mine in the new War Within zones, those skills aren't going to follow me. I'm going to have like a new set of specializations to master specific to those new zones. And the same goes for crafting professions. The perks apply to the Dragon Isles related stuff, and that's it. And then we're going to move on to the War Within stuff. Now, with all that said, let's start off with the biggest highlights of what I think worked with the Dragonflight profession system. Now, I feel like it delivered on its very high level intentions. The biggest one being that everyone had an opportunity to benefit from it. We got to really play the role of a crafter. We were learning stuff, we were upping skills, we were bartering for goods, notably lots of barking in trade chat, and of course watching trade chat for potential clients looking to have a particular item made. So it got folks talking to each other. Lots of times the exchanges were at a minimum, but sometimes we could strike up conversations and give each other help. It felt very organic. It felt real because for the most part it was. People who did not care or have time for professions, they could still get some of the best items in the game. There was no more investing tons of time and gold on crafting this and leveling this and throwing this stuff away just so they can make an item for themselves. They could just commission someone else who had put in all that work to just make it for them. And while the bind on equip market, that's still a thing, by and large, getting great gear through professions is way, way cheaper than it was during, say, Shadowlands, with very volatile prices of high-level accessories and legendary base pieces. Work orders are a very, very good start to a tool that's designed to connect the client and the crafter together. There's a lot more to talk about with this in a little bit, but I don't want to think that anyone wants work orders to just straight up go away. I think they want them to improve for both the crafter and the client. So like I said, I'm just talking about the high level stuff that I think worked really well. The overall intention of professions, I think it worked out fantastically. Just do more of that. But now let's identify improvements. I'm going to focus on the most glaring ones, and I'm going to count on you folks at home and in the comments to provide your own personal takes. So first off, professions were They are really hard to understand. Yeah, there was like a legion of guides and blog posts and videos and streams, and that did not do enough to stop people from making poor tactical decisions or just fat fingering, resulting in days, weeks, months worth of work to rewrite ourselves when we messed up on our profession specializations. What players absolutely need going forward in the War Within is a big overhaul and improvement on tooltips to help them understand just what it is that they're investing into. Add-ons eventually helped with this, but the user experience, it's gotta be in there, built into the game from day one. Now, anyone wondering why I'm talking about professions so far in advance anyway is because of this. Whatever they do, the in-game communication of whatever they do is hugely important. So here's what I mean. If I'm in the specialization window, if I mouse over a node, I should be able to see a good, maybe an exact readout of what recipes or gathering nodes that this affects. And on the other end, the recipe side, there ought to be one of those little information buttons where if I mouse over that, I can see all of the specializations that affect that particular recipe and what their current ranks are. So empower the players with information so they can make the right decisions. And as a smaller deal, but while we're still at it, the same goes for the use of quality materials. Rank 3 Draconium ore, it gives 10 skill levels on some recipe and 15 on another and maybe 5 on another still. I don't know what a good implementation would look like, but the visibility just needs to be there as, okay, what is this material going to do for me? Before we continue, I gotta take a minute to thank the sponsor of today's video, Ridge, maker of these awesome minimalist wallets and accessories. They've got a huge holiday sale, and you can save up to 30% off through December 20th by going over to ridge.com/soul. You even get a chance to win a massive Ridge bundle worth $4,000 by just hitting that link and giving a bit of your information, because, that's just kind of how things work. I've been partnered with Ridge for a few years now, and they've given me tons of stuff to show you, but at the same time, my original wallet works just fine. Well, what's new? We have a hyper lime color that fits the theme of high performance, especially at night, or maybe you're into softer tones. There's a new line of ceramic powder colors to choose from, and many, many more on their website. Ridge wallets keep you super organized and are so easy to use. Stuff slides in, stuff slides out, cash on the side with the optional clip. It's got a lifetime warranty and a 99-day risk-free trial, making it a great holiday gift or something nice for yourself. So, ridge.com/soul. Go there. Sales end December 20th. Since even before the start of Dragonflight, some folks have clamored for a way to respec their specializations because what they chose might happen to suck. And these folks, they were willing to compromise. They were like, hey, just make this respec thing a once per season thing, or give it a really high cost and resources or whatever. I think the most fair approach to make that won't change player behavior in a bad way would be a limited respec, and of course I need to explain this. So once a player has put down a few points into their profession specializations, maybe they decided, oh no, I screwed up or I made a bad call. They'll be able to respec up to 10 of their used points with a 7-day cooldown. So they can talk to an NPC or they can click on a button or something, and then they can subtract up to 10 points from their already applied specializations, and then take those up to 10 points and apply it elsewhere. And then they hit a confirmation button and ta-da, they're done. And they cannot do that again for 7 days. And it's going to be very specific to that. You're not going to be able to just refund 10 points and then save those 10 points for later and then do it again and again. You have to cancel the process or finish it before you can access your professions again. I think that covers most of the honest situations while preventing folks like me from exploiting the 7-day respec to just unmaster an entire discipline and then remaster another. 10 is just a number, it's arbitrary, but it's a good jumping off point, and I think the aim seems pretty clear, right? We're gonna let folks fix mistakes and have a path to pivot over a period of time if they're really that unhappy with their specialization, and it still preserves that feeling of making a choice of the path that they make, knowing that eventually they're going to reach an end. Another big ask from players has been some sort of profession spec catch-up, whether it's a new profession alt that we want to prop up or a newer player wanting to have a profession to round out their character. The thing is, at least the way that I see it, and you're probably not going to like this, catch-ups have already been in the game. They just need a bit of a bump. Because starting with 10.0 and with every new zone patch, there have been these one-time special treasures to find that give a bit of bonus knowledge points. So my suggestion is just give more. A lot more. I don't think it's that big of an ask to tell players, hey, just take a big lap around the new zones or around the continent to find these one-time treasures. Static flying will be a thing by this point, and these treasures, they should give, instead of 3 knowledge points, how about like 7 or 10 or something like that. At the very least, double of what the current values are. This would be a natural catch-up as we go along from patch to patch. Later patches, of course, means new characters have that many more points to pick up from off the ground. Personally, I think that's all that needs to be done. It's a good late start that, at least in my head, it lets someone be well on their way towards mastering their very first thing, but it stops short of possible exploits because, shocker, if there are too many points, the tactic is going to be, well, I'm just going to roll a whole bunch of alts and flood the market with all these craftable goods that are easy to master, prices are going to totally tank, and then folks get sad. So I don't know what the knowledge value ought to be, but I think that's the direction it ought to go for catch-ups at least. Now let's talk about work orders, our totally favorite thing. I should say that my perspective on this subject is pretty narrow because I happen to be on a good server with a healthy economy. It's got good traffic, and I know that I know that server identity is a thing, but I also know it doesn't feel so great when some people are like, oh yeah, my server hella sucks. So I'm going to start with some low-hanging fruit. Being able to post public work orders without providing all of the materials or any of the materials, that was a bad call. They shouldn't have done that. For me, all that made me do, all my player behavior or response to that was to ignore those people. And now I have this really massive ignore list, not because players were like nasty in game or they harassed me or they said some crappy stuff in trade chat. It's because they're just kind of cheap asses, and that's a weird way to close players off from one another. So I say don't do that. Make those people doing public orders now just throw everything in. Just go back to the original rule set. Region-wide work orders, that's a big subject and it would be nice, but to just open them up with no restrictions, it would also mean unleashing the entire region-wide demand. So let's start slow. Maybe as a jumping off point, here's an idea. Let region public work orders be a thing, but with a pretty low, a very restrictive limit, similar to how things are with public work orders on our server. And also allow personal region work orders, also with its own limit. Like, imagine if I, the greatest shield crafter in North America, were to be on stream or social media and I'm telling people, hey dude, I'm on, send me your orders, and there's no tip required. I mean, okay, I'm probably not going to get that many orders, but the point is, some people have an advantage to advertise themselves that some others don't. And seeing people try to advertise cross-server would be like super obnoxious. Meanwhile, there are people with friends on other servers who would love to help each other out, but they cannot right now. And limited region-wide work orders are the answer to that. Now, this leads to some of the argument about public work orders, mainly the thing about folks asking for the ability to ask for a certain rank quality. It's a good point that the WoW team and others have made that asking for rank quality is tantamount to pushing lower level crafters off the market entirely. With the other current models in place, you wouldn't be able to do business unless you can craft a rank 5 right away, and that just sucks. The WoW team has also said that they wanted to take a look at inspiration by the time the War Within launches, and we don't know what their thoughts are so far, but I do have one idea. Now, this is going to be a bit more difficult to explain, but hear me out. Let's pretend that someone posted a work order and they wanted it at max rank. Now, if we think about how personal orders work, you'd only be able to pick it up if you can max it out without any bonuses like inspiration or an insight. So let's change that a little bit. So on the client side, nothing's really going to change. They're going to be able to post an order and provide all the materials to make the item per my earlier suggestion, but they can now make a request for a rank 5 on this public order. Maybe add a nice tip, and then for them, their work is done. So now what happens on the crafter side? The crafter is going to see the rank 5 work order, and they can pick it up, and there are several possible behaviors or outcomes. Crafter A may be able to make it right away because they're super awesome at the game. They have everything, they have all the skills and all that stuff. So hey, great for them. Crafter B might also be able to make it straight away, but they have to use an illustrious insight to give that guaranteed boost. Crafter C is where we start introducing some new ideas. So Crafter C cannot rank 5 this particular item even with an insight, so they're going to have to rely on inspiration, or even both the insight and inspiration. So Crafter C is going to utilize a new feature that lets them pump their own resources, and I'm talking about basic resources. I'm talking about ore, leather, whatever the basic material is to create that certain thing. And that those excess materials will slowly raise their inspiration chance all the way up to 100%. It'll guarantee an inspiration proc that will fulfill this rank 5 requirement. A few things are in play here, like the character's natural inspiration, their tools, and external buffs that will give them a much needed boost, because the material cost to brute force inspiration, it's meant to be fairly substantial. Illustrious insights are a kind of time-gated and finite resource. Raw resources, and I'm talking about, again, basic resources, not so much, so the cost is going to need to match that somehow. But it's also got to be of some value to the crafter as well. Like, if someone orders a rank 5 item, but they don't offer a tip at all, a lot of crafters aren't going to be all that interested in taking up that order that's going to end up costing them money. And then finally, of course, there's Crafter D, who has no business picking up that rank 5 order, because even with an insight and tons of resources, their skill and their level or whatever, it's just not high enough to guarantee a rank 5. So the current variables are still going to be in play. You got quality, you got insights and parts, you got inspiration, but what I'm suggesting is that we add this brute force option to make it possible for characters to pick up work orders that do ask for a certain quality, which means we can have public work orders that ask for a certain quality. Also consider the ideas for region public orders and the current rule sets we have right now. The hope is that this gets more crafters participating and not feeling so locked into trade chat. Clients are going to feel good knowing that they can request high quality items without having to bug trade chat, and they can feel reassured that their order will be fulfilled the way that they want it. The supply of regular materials might be affected. Crafters will use the provided materials and use some of what they've acquired to guarantee quality, and that might help keep material prices kind of sort of stable throughout the expansion, as opposed to the less than 1 gold prices that we currently see. The challenge, though, is, of course, what will players actually do with all of this? Like, for example, if a client requests a rank 5 thing with no tip, only skilled crafters will even bother picking it up because, well, that's easy to do, it doesn't cost them anything. If a client requests a rank 5 with a big tip, well, shoot, everyone, including skilled crafters, are going to be picking this up because, hey, it's gold. There's still that current rule that orders that are about to expire will not count towards a cap, and maybe that'll still make this sort of work, but also maybe I killed this entire idea. Or maybe we can salvage it into something else. Finally, like many professions, engineering, as an example, was a mixed bag of results, from the usability of its items to its gear offerings with player power, but they did offer some cool and fun toys. All the professions, to a similar extent, offered some fun stuff, and the WoW team ought to really double down, triple down on that. From cosmetic ensembles, to funny hats, to a new Blingtron, to, just more toys and pets and mounts and other cosmetics. Dragonflight has shown that there's only so much to introduce with gear, from professions, when the gear from every season still happens to stay relevant. Cosmetics are just the natural direction to go here. Folks want more to sell on the auction house, they want more work orders to answer for, so how about giving them a little bit of both? And I'm tired. I'm pretty gassed. Those are pretty much the big things that the WoW team ought to address, and my hopes are that the changes will trickle down to other desires that players have. But also be sure to check the comments too, whoever's watching, and be sure to upvote ones that you think are good ideas. Link this to the devs. There's no shame. Like this video, subscribe for more coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.